What's up guys, I'm Dunmere, top 100 Overwatch tank player, and I'm going to tell you guys how to play Genji in this guide. We're going to go over some gameplay from a friend of mine, Afro, who's a top 100 player, and I'm just going to tell you guys everything you need to know about the character. So, Genji didn't get any actual changes from Overwatch 1, but got some indirect buffs, essentially. So now when you kill somebody, you get faster reload speed and movement speed, which is a big buff to Genji's playstyle. Lets it stay longer alive after it gets a kill, and lets it prepare itself for another one after that. So Genji's abilities are really useful for being a dive character. You have ranged primary fire version where you throw 3 shots, as you can see like right there, and then one that shows that throws 3 really close range ones that are used for targeting things once you dove onto something. The dash ability you use to dive onto locations, dive onto targets, and try and secure kills on them, or just damage them to force them out. And then they did actually change the way that his deflect ability works to make it now have the ability to be cancelled, so that you can use it to take really powerful duels. That's why Genji's a very strong character right now. So, as you'll see here, we're gonna have our Genji player trying to spam damage from range with these primary fires, control high ground so that he can dive onto things that get vulnerable and get close to him, and then punish them when they get close. Genji, because of the way that deflect works, operates very similar to something like Winston in a lot of ways, and Devo in the way that they dive things that are vulnerable. So when you see a target that's like out of position or low, you're going to want to dash onto it, try and hit it with your close range right click 3 primary fire first, and look to just frag it out like that. Like you'll see a really common combo is you dash right click and then melee immediately does like quite a chunk of damage. I should be able to kill things if they've like taken about 70 damage or so, depending on how many of your shurikens you hit. So, just to rewind this for you guys really quick, this is like the core fundamentals of how you play Genji from like a general playstyle perspective. Here, they're just poking at range, nothing's showing up, nothing's really too vulnerable yet, but then this Mercy gets too close, takes some damage from his primary fires, and you're like, oh, yep, time to kill it. So walks into it, hits it with shurikens, and goes to frag it out. The Winston player followed up, and so they also got the kill on the Ashe. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking to create opportunities with dealing damage from range and getting something weak, or having an opportunity created for you by like a tank, for example. So like if a Winston dives somewhere, you can dive with it, and the Winston will oftentimes knock it down to low health that you can finish off as Genji. So you two can dive together, and it's basically what was controlling the original Overwatch 1 meta back in like season 1 of Overwatch League. You know, dive, right? So that's what this character is all about. Looking for opportunities, pushing them, dashing them, and before that, as it's looking for those opportunities, just dealing damage from range and pumping value into it. Its ultimate is a lot stronger now that there aren't as many stuns in the game, which is the other like indirect buff Genji got. There's a lot fewer stuns from like Brigitte and like Cassidy and things like that, so Genji's way better now. And by the fact that you can cancel the its deflect, it's able to like win a battle against like every hit scan character it dives onto, so, like, you know, Cassidy, Widowmaker, Ashe, etc. So you're gonna see some gameplay here where an opportunity has arisen. A Widowmaker alone that he hits in low. The Widow gets really low, chases it down with his blade, and since the enemies are low and they're had to, like, the Widowmaker was playing too aggressively and had to back up away from our Genji player was able to kill it with the extra dash you get from your ultimate ability. So really super powerful ability. We have our Genji player here looking at the right side, and we can see that no one's there, but he can't. But it's still a good play just because of the fact that like you never know when the enemy's gonna like swap Widowmaker and then sneak over to that side and pop someone in your team, or like whatever crazy thing may happen. Like, yeah, they didn't have anybody do that, but it can still happen. So having like one player in your team be able to watch that is really powerful. So, now that we're playing Genji on defense plays similarly, but a little bit different, right? You don't want to be like trying to push into the enemy and dive to make space and stuff like that. You're basically waiting to see the enemy tanks commit to something, one of the enemy DPS players or support players get out of position, and then you punch them. We're going to see him go for a punish on this Genji here. So the Genji deflected right there, meaning he's now vulnerable to being hit by like a right click ability, which he's looking for. So he dashed onto him, tried to hit a right click, and tried to finish him. And the Genji ended up dashing through him and dying, but that was like playing off of a cooldown. he noticed that because the Genji player didn't have his deflect anymore, like he just used it and it was about to end, he was able to be doped. But when you get a little bit pushed out, you get back to your team and you're okay. Genji plays very well on high grounds because you can drop down from the high grounds and not have to use your dash to get up there in the first place. So you stand on top of them, you use your dash, or you stand on top of them, drop down onto something, and then you're able to use your dash for damage or to escape. And since Genji is able to take advantage of just winning, it's like any hit scan in the game or something like Sojourn in particular, you can mark like a side of the angle of the map. I like to show you guys what I'm talking about here. Our Genji player is playing with their team, but ends up angling out into the right side here of the map. And then this like is now, just by being here, the whole like section of this map here is being marked essentially. So you have the oh, I keep getting in the way. You have his team marking up here, taking care of this area, but then nothing can come up here and shoot them now because Genji is standing there. So it's a really smart thing to do. You do it on tanks a lot, and that's kind of why like Genji's just really like a small version of Winston, to be honest. Like it sounds kind of weird, but he is. So yeah, when you do see your teammates get kind of low, you usually want to back up, you know, like back up here, punish the Winston for not playing well into his bubble, and then ends up getting surrounded. So you might want to hide a little bit faster. So we're gonna see our Genji player come from slightly a bit of an angle here. It probably would have been more ideal to like come from the high ground essentially, just because you're squishy, you don't want to be taking a lot of damage all the time. Granted, I would have taken more time, but as soon as you get in here, he saw the Sojourn jump up. Sojourn no longer has jump, no way to escape from him, so it's time to dive her and push her out. Didn't quite get the kill on it, but now the enemy team is all forced into this side of the map, and their angles are gone, so they no longer have the ability to do anything, right? And then this gives our Genji player the ability to push forward with their tanks and punish the enemies as they all like funnel into this room here. Like you have the Deepa pushing, that character's low, push and finish it, that character's low, push and finish her. Very consistent. Like it's all about snapping on opportunities essentially. Like you try and create an opportunity yourself, you wait for your tanks to create an opportunity, like maybe your Ana hits a fat anti-nade, something like that. And in the whole meantime, you're just out main, farming damage on the enemies, trying to get them to be weak enough to dash onto and finish. So yeah. While you are playing with an Ana, for example, you have a very, very good potential kill combo of having a Nano Blade. Now this Ana's been putting her Nano not onto Genji, so there's times to use it without it, and because there's not many stuns now, you can use it pretty free here. Like gets a dash onto something, they're pretty low, and decides to push it. Again, you usually want to use it to make sure you're winning a fight out of it, or see an opportunity. You have to be a little bit careful about like wasting it, but when you are in the heat of the moment, it's kind of easy to like not use it 100% properly, and use it after you've already won the fight essentially. So you have to be careful about that. You have to be paying a lot of attention to like how many people are up on their team versus your team, because in Overwatch 2 now, when somebody dies on your team or dies on their team, your chance of winning is a lot worse than when someone had died on your team in Overwatch 1, because 5v6 is hugely different from 4v6 or 4v5. So again, same sort of thing, bang from range. It's a little bit poked out, enemy gets a little bit too aggressive on him, but it's fine as long as you're playing like using your brain, you can get escape from that. Even though Genji's strong, you do want to be cautious to like go too hard on somebody essentially. Like he gets a little bit unlucky here and gets ulted, right? But what I'm talking about is like right here, this Widowmaker, Zen, Ana are all targets that he wants to kill. But going on him like this would have been just a little bit too hard, so he doesn't. He makes a good choice. He gets the Genji low, and the Genji ends up ulting like specifically to kill him. It's a little bit tragic, but it was a good play overall because he was waiting for the Genji to be low and push on the Genji instead of going super hard for those other people. So returning back into this, you're looking to take care of this high ground here. There's no more 2 tanks anymore. So the ability to have like a Genji player on your team, like marking an off angle, taking care of that is really, really, really powerful. Sometimes you just go a little bit too hard and you end up getting killed, but that's all about min-maxing. And sometimes the enemy just pops off a little bit. But as you can see, it looks a little bit monotonous, sorry. But always taking the high ground, looking for opportunities. And when you get into overtime, you just want to take care of that point. Kill the point, get all the enemies off of it, and then your problems are solved. Alright guys, I thought that there were some other things we needed to talk about in regards to Genji, particularly talking about engagement timings, target priority, and then ultimate usage. So I grabbed a little bit extra footage for us to go over. So we're going to start off with target priority. Usually you want to be going for a support or a damage character that's angling too far away from its team, but before both of those options, it's really whatever's available. So playing this little area here, and this Orisa gets a Discord Orb on her, and so he's just like chucking these right clicks into her back to farm a little nice chunk of ult, but it ends up securing him the kill off of that, just because of the fact that it does have this Discord Orb. So in this circumstance, you kind of have to like be aware of what's going on. Like I said, like 9 out of 10 times you really do want to be focusing like for example, like a Sojourn flanking on the side, or like a support on the enemy team that gets a little bit too far away, gets antied, or takes a chunk of damage from your right clicks or your left clicks or something like that. But there's other options, right? So just keep that in mind about paying attention to what goes on. Now, when you do see what I just talked about, well, there's a DPS too far away from team, you push them and you kill them, right? And then from there, it's all like opportunistic. So as soon as you secure a kill on Genji, so as soon as like this circumstance happens, like right now, like you dash, kill him, like right now, you go, okay, how much HP do I have? What cooldowns I'm available? Do I need to get out? They need to go back in. As you can see, full HP, all cooldowns, so we're good to keep going. So we do keep going. And you get a kill on the Moira also. And by that point, the game, like the fight's just over. Keep pushing the Zarya because you do want to get Zarya's killed, especially you don't want them to have their charge. And you do get the frag on that. Now, you do also have to keep in mind that like Zarya is one of Genji's biggest counters just because she does a lot of damage and Genji can't block it at all. So you do have to be kind of careful. Like, even though the Zarya was losing the fight, she almost cut her Genji player. All right, so now we're gonna go into engagement timings, right? Like I talked about, like usually it's just going off an opportunity, but something that is also another viable opportunity is when the enemy is rotating through a choke point. When they're walking through this area and they're pushing forward, it makes them very vulnerable to being split up, to diving and like creating opportunity and stuff like that. And so as a tank, you really always do want to take advantage of that. But as a Genji player, that's another good time to try and like to see what you can get away with, right? And so here we're going to see this happen. So they start rotating through. They're all split. Like only 2 people are looking at them right now. Lucio peels, and so now, you know, it's time to dip, right? Moving into this, we're going to see something really cool here. So we see a fight win basically off of this fight. And so this is the last thing I really wanted to talk about from this segment here, is about ultimate usage, right? There is basically 2 ways to use Genji's blade. The first one is like in this really standard version of like a nano blade, right? Where you're like, okay, we need to break this hole, we need to break this choke point, whatever. Get nano, I'll get blade, hit me, I'm going in, right? And that's a lot more viable now. But in these sort of like, the way that like when these fights are all breaking apart, and in most situations, or when you don't even have an Ana, the situation to use your ult is particularly when there's an opportunity. You don't want to force it. Like if you just bladed and jumped to those 5 people, they would have like backed up. They would have like, oh, we're getting ulted. Time to back up. But now that he's waited to get an opportunity where he can get a 1-on-1, get a nice kill, and then continue on with it, you get a lot more value. Like I said, get a nice little trade kill essentially because he was about to die, and then push it forward and gets 2 kills off of it. And then that's the whole fight because of that. So like Genji's honestly insanely good right now. And just having this knowledge of like waiting for opportunities with your blade and primarily just with your regular kit, you'll get a huge value of the character. Like that's honestly like one of your best things to do. And here you can see like, you know, he did a little bit of an opposite of waiting here and went too far, right? And ends up getting chunked by the Sojourn player actually with their right click, but he could have gotten punished just for going that hard in the first place. So you don't want to do that. You want to be focusing a lot more on just like watching for what's going on, seeing what the enemy's doing, pay attention to like tendencies of enemy players to like get away too far away from their team or whatever may happen. So yeah, guys, I mean, this fight is won by a nice little grab pulse combo, and that's that. But that's the guide, everyone. Thanks a bunch for watching. Just watch for those opportunities, poke damage at range to try and create them. Don't rush anything. Use your blade to finish up opportunities, finish up weakened targets. Unless you have a nano blade, you can force it. And always be thinking about how far you can go. Can you go further? You need to back up. What much HP do you have? How many cooldowns do you have available? Things like that. And you'll get a lot of success on Genji. If you're looking for some more Overwatch 2 content, then make sure to check out these videos I have right here. Like I said, I'm a top 100 Overwatch player, so I have lots of videos and things to share with you guys.